Alrighty, so once again, I'm talking quietly in this video because it's another Brown Liquor special when it comes to doing a late night review. And originally, I was actually going to plan to do this review, but because of the fact that I'm going back to California tomorrow and the fact that I'm not going to land until 9 p.m. and there's just no way in the world I'm going to be doing a review after that. I'm going to be incredibly tired after that long flight back to California. I just thought, you know what, might as well do one right now, and I'll probably do this one relatively quick because, I got to check out this hotel at 11. I don't want to go too deep into the night where I won't have enough sleep tomorrow to, of course, head back to California. And especially, I still have something to do here in South Florida tomorrow morning and also the afternoon. That's why I kind of don't want to go too deep into the night and basically don't have a lot of sleep before tomorrow morning as well. But with that being said, let's talk about the first 8 games of these match week number 4 action, the first 8 games from the Saturday action. If there's one thing we want to say when it comes to the Saturday action so far, it was really feast or famine when it comes to the goals. I mean, we saw some games where there wasn't too much goals, and then we saw some games where all the goals were being scored. So let's begin with the first game, which is Toronto versus Columbus, and unfortunately this lamp kind of reflect on the board, so you couldn't really quite see the notes on some of it. Although I know for most of you, probably you're just listening as a podcast and you don't really look at the board. But anyway, the first game we're going to talk about is Toronto versus Columbus, and for once, Toronto was able to hold on to a lead. This is probably something that they probably wish that they did in the last game against the Red Bulls, but the good news is they did it in this one against Columbus. Now, they didn't start off well for Toronto, though, because just 3 minutes into this game, the Crew takes the lead as Abu Ali would score from Arfston and Champoz to give Columbus the 1-0 lead. Don't be surprised if I'm going to be misspoken a lot because I am still relatively tired, even though we're so late into the evening. And yeah, this was the first shot of the game, and it's also the first goal that Abu Ali has had for a while now. I mean, I remember he started the season hot in the first 2 games of the season, but have kind of came up empty until this goal happened. So that gave Columbus a 1-0 lead. Sargent did look to respond, but he hits it right to Schulte. By the way, Sargent's only played one half in this one. Obviously, he's not going to play the full 90 minutes, at least for maybe another game or two. This is pretty much still his preseason, knowing the fact that because of that ugly saga that he has with Norwich and Toronto, he's pretty much going to have at least a couple more weeks before he can build his match fitness and also his sharpness to 100%, so that TFC can feel confident that he can go the full 90. There was a shout for a handball for Toronto not given after that. I thought it was a lively start for this game as both of these teams was going quickly on the attack, but despite that, the shots were still only one apiece, just 20 minutes up to this point. The third shot of the game came in the 23rd minute when Edwards puts it high from long range. Toronto definitely started to generate some pressure, looking for the opening goal. Osorio would then skies one to Lake Ontario in the 38th minute before Sargent had a header that was clear off the line. So Josh Sargent, he was definitely very active in this one, and this is despite the fact that they did not have Mihajlovic in the first half of this game. They actually put Mihajlovic in the second half. That was kind of a weird decision by Robin Fraser. Decided to put Mihajlovic in the second half and put Sargent in the first half. I mean, I know both of those guys couldn't start the full 90. Sargent obviously because of match fitness, and also Mihajlovic, he was dealing with some illness. That's why he didn't start the full 90 minutes. Why don't you just put both of them for 45 minutes? Why not? That would kind of build some chemistry between both of those guys instead of maybe putting just one in the first half and one in the second half. It is, and they don't get the chemistry level that I'm pretty sure TFC fans are really hoping that will develop between both Sargent and Mihajlovic in the future. But in the 43rd minute, Schulte would deny Edwards of an overhead kick. There was no doubt Toronto was continuing to ramp up the pressure and asking a lot of questions on that Columbus set pieces and defending as well. Showery would miss wide after another bad turnover for Columbus. Columbus committed a lot of turnover in this one, and at the same time I thought they need halftime badly because the pressure was mounting on TFC. They were pressing hard to get the equalizer, but we do head to halftime with Columbus leading 1-0. In the second half, Kerwood heads it wide from close range. Rossi was in on goal here, but the post denied him. That would be costly because just 5 minutes later, Cifuentes would score from Showery and Lorraine, and I believe that's Sifu's first goal for Toronto FC. I mean, I don't think Sifu has scored for Toronto up to this point. Obviously, he scored a couple of goals during his time with LAFC, but this is probably the first time he scored for Toronto. So, yeah, just like that, TFC ties the game up at 1 apiece. Showery did look for another, but he hits it right to Schulte. The momentum was definitely all with TFC. Now that they got the equalizer, they were pressing hard to get another. But I thought Columbus did a good job at least surviving the pressure, and the game kind of started to become a bit stalemate again, where not much really happened up in terms of chances. Schulte would then deny Mihajlovic from close, but then in the 83rd minute, Walker Zimmerman would score his first goal for TFC. And if there's a golden rule when it comes to defending set pieces against Toronto, especially when you have Walker Zimmerman, is that you got to mark him tightly, because when you don't mark him tightly, he's done this pretty much throughout his living with multiple clubs throughout his career, and he does it again here with TFC. A powerful header there, a beautiful delivery from Mihajlovic from the corner, and Zimmerman was there to power that one in, and just like that, TFC were leading in this one. But now the question is, can they hold on to the lead, because they weren't able to do so against the Red Bulls the last time when they were playing at home. Abu Ali did look to answer, but he hits it right to Gavron. Columbus definitely pushed late to get the equalizer. TFC once again is holding on and hope that this time they can see out the win. Herrera would then hits it right to Gavron in the 4th man of stoppage time, but this time Columbus does hold on. I'm sorry, Toronto does hold on. Again, it is very late in the evening. I do not be surprised if I mistakenly talk about a team or even mistaken a player. I didn't want to do this review, but yeah, Toronto does hold on to get the victory. The shots in this one, 12 shots with the 7 that Columbus had, 4 shots on goal with the 7 that TFC had, 4 shots off target with the none that Columbus had, 2 shots as blocked with the 1 that Columbus had, and possession-wise, 53% possession compared to 47% possession that TFC has in this game. And this was a big win for TFC. Not just the fact that, it's the second win of the season for them, but after what happened last week and them not able to hold on to the lead, this was very important that they respond this week to make sure that they do redeem themselves and holding on to the lead, because you don't want to have a situation where if you have the second week in a row where you can see the lead late, then all of a sudden TFC fans feel like, oh boy, here we go again. We've seen this story many times before, but they were able to hold on this time. But for Columbus, oh boy, the Henrik Rydström era so far, it has not got off to a great start. And I know it's still relatively early in the season, and I've talked about this before with new head coaches. Sometimes it may take times for their tactics and philosophy to implement to the team, but it's getting to a point where because head coaches they always are getting under fire relatively quick and probably more quicker than we ever seen before, even with new head coaches as this. How much patience would Columbus fans have with Henrik Rydström? I mean, I know that the system that he runs, on paper it kind of looks similar to Wilfried Nancy, but there are some things that just kind of seems off with him, even though he's trying to implement that Nancy ball. It just kind of feels like it hasn't worked with the style that he wants to implement it. So yeah, overall, it just feels like for him, he is definitely going to maybe start to be under pressure a little bit more, because it is kind of weird to see how much Columbus is struggling this season. I mean, I know the writings may be kind of on the wall a bit, even when Nancy was still taking charge of this team. They have their struggle last season as well, but yeah, man, this season it's been a struggle for Columbus. And like I said, Rydström, his clock is definitely ticking. The fact that he's got to get this right eventually, because if he doesn't get this right, and if they continue this winless run, I wouldn't be surprised if Columbus fans might start to lose patience and feel like Rydström is not the guy that they were hoping to rightfully replace Wilfried Nancy in this job. But anyway, moving on into the second game, that of course is Philadelphia versus Chicago. So yeah, I mean, I talk about Columbus having a bit of a fall from grace this season. That's nothing compared to Philly. I mean, this season, what a fall from grace it's been. And it feels like the Bradley Carnell second-year curse is definitely a thing in this year, because it is night and day compared to what happened last season when they won the Supporters' Shield compared to this year. In fact, I think they might be the first ever Supporters' Shield champion to lose 5 in a row to start the season the following year. Now in the first half, Zigonaga with the game's first shot, but he missed wide before the first shot for the Union. C. Bueno hit right to Brady off the deflection. Not much chances really created as the shots were only one apiece. 17 minutes in, Deanwood hits one right to Blake before Harriel would puts it over from close in the 25th minute. The post would then deny Bedoya on the header, and that's just kind of how it's been for the Union when it comes to their finishing. They haven't really been that good in terms of their finishing, despite the fact that they generate the chances. Lud would then hits one right to Blake in the second man of stoppage time, but then the third man of stoppage time, Chicago takes the lead as Hugo Kuipers, he scored from Gutman here to make it 1-0 in favor of the Fire. Yeah, not great defending whatsoever there from the Union. Like, the last player you want to leave on mark if you're the Union backline is Hugo Kuipers. He was completely on mark in the box here. No surprise the fact that the Union were punished. But the good news for the Union, they quickly respond as Ilowski would score from Bedoya and Westfield to tie the game up at one apiece. I'm pretty sure this is kind of what Union fans were envisioned with Milan Ilowski getting in a good spot and scoring the goal. But yeah, that ties the game up at one apiece, and that would be the scoreline heading into the second half. In the second half, Diamante puts it high from long range before Kuipers would put it wide from close. Both of these teams definitely exchanging some chances early. Kuipers would then heads it wide from close in the 66th minute, but then the 68th minute, the 58th minute, that is, and the Kuipers chance came in the 56th, that is, but in the 58th minute, Jonathan Bamba would score from Lud and Kuipers to give Chicago the 2-1 lead. So yeah, Robin Lud, he kind of showed that he still got it. He actually got the start in this one. He hasn't been getting the start for the Chicago Fire, which I was kind of surprised. I mean, I would have thought that maybe he would get more of the start under Greg Berhalter, but yeah, he's definitely repaying his manager in this one, playing a really good game in this one. That's what did doing his time with Minnesota, and I'm happy to see that he still got it with Chicago as well. And like I said, I would definitely continue to cheer on Robin Lud. Only time I won't be cheering on him is if Chicago does play against Minnesota, and it's great to see that he is still performing so well. And yeah, just like that, Chicago were up 2-1 up to this point. Haile Selassie did try to look free for the Fire, but he clips the post, and yeah, that is one that Haile Selassie would want to have back, because that was a big missed chance from him there. But the momentum was definitely with the Fire. They were looking to try to get the opener. Ilowski would then puts it high from close before Vasilev hits it straight to Brady. The Union definitely pressed back to try to get the equalizer themselves. Brady would then deny Harriel in the back post before the post would deny Lud from close in the 83rd minute. So the post was definitely not kind to Chicago play this game. Twice it's been hit in this one. Diamante then hits it from close in the 88th minute. But yeah, in the end, Chicago does hold on. They get the 2-1 win in this one. The shots in this one, 12 shots compared to 11 that the Fire has. Both teams had 4 shots on goal, 3 shots off target compared to 4 that the Fire has, 3 shots that was blocked compared to 1 that the Fire has, and possession-wise, 47% possession compared to 53% possession that the Fire has in this game. So yeah, no doubt that for the Union, the struggle continues. 5 straight losses to start the season. I might even do a video talking about that. And as much as I know a lot of people will definitely put the finger on Bradley Carnell, I think it's deeper than that. I think as maybe we'll do a video talking about their 5 straight losses of the season. I think a lot of this has gone down to some of the transfer business that they've done this offseason, and the fact that, yeah, it feels like gutting the team for the second straight times. While it definitely worked out the first time, and maybe they kind of got away with it a bit, yeah, they definitely did not get away with it in the second time, and this is where I don't blame Union fans. Maybe once again be very frustrated with the ownership group, especially the thing that they did and haven't got the right replacement for those guys that they lost this offseason as well. Now, moving on in terms of the next 2 games, and the next 2 games were just absolutely blowouts. So we'll start off with Nashville versus Orlando City, and if you thought that Nashville was going to have a hangover after that big win against Inter Miami, because when you finally slay your demon and able to overcome your boogeyman, you maybe will have a bit of a letdown heading into league play. Yeah, no, they definitely did not have a letdown in this one. In the first half, Mule would hit it right to Crepeau before in the 5th minute. Guess who? Christian Espinosa. He scored from Nahar and Taxev. Wouldn't be so nice if he was still playing with the Quakes, right? I mean, he's been just red hot with Nashville, and that was kind of expected as well. I mean, in some way, as I said many times, with the way that I wish the Quakes would have found a way to hold on to him, especially looking at you, the front office that is. I'm just so glad that he's now finally get a chance to play on a real team, and that he's definitely showcasing what he can do, and definitely getting more attention now that he is actually playing on a real team, and a team that can definitely compete for MLS Cup. So here he scored from Nahar and Taxev to make it 1-0. It was also kind of a little bit of a shot cross in my opinion, though. I mean, I look at it a couple of times. I feel like he kind of meant to do that. I think he saw something in Crépeau not being in a great position there, and just kind of dinked that one over. So just like that, Nashville were up 1-0. Surridge then tried to make it 2-0, but his header was deflected wide. It wasn't all Nashville early in this one, and I thought, oh boy, this could be a long night for Orlando, and it definitely was for the Lions in this one. Willizzi would then puts it high into the stands before the first shot for Orlando City. Schrocky denied Ojeda from close. Surridge would then had a header there that goes wide, but the flag came up. The shots were already 4-1 for Nashville up to this point. They had majority of the possession as well, 74 compared to 26 that Nashville has, I'm sorry, 74 compared to 26 that Orlando City has up to this point. And then in the 26th minute, penalty was given to Nashville as Miller would bring down Palacios in the box. So here comes Sam Surridge, a chance to bury it from the spot here, and he does exactly that. Even though he has had his issue when it comes to penalties, he did bury this one to make it 2-0 in favor of Nashville. Lagos did look to respond, but it was deflected wide before Crépeau denied Surridge, and then it falls to Baker Whiting, a chance to bury his first goal for Nashville. Couldn't quite do so as he missed that one wide, and then Crépeau would deny Yazbek from close range. Nashville was just showing no mercy up to this point. I mean, this felt like it was man against boys up to this point of how big of a golf quality that Nashville has compared to Orlando City. Crépeau would then deny Mule as the flag went up, and then in the 43rd minute, Schrocky would deny Angulo on a rare opportunity for Orlando, but we do head to halftime with Nashville leading 2-0. In the second half, Iago would head it wide from close range, but then the 55th minute, Nashville would make it 2-0, or make it 3-0. Up to this point. I'm starting to lose track of how many goals Nashville scored. They scored a lot of goals in this one. But here Surridge scored in the 55th minute to make it 3-0. Dorsey did look to answer, but he struck the post before Taffy puts it high from close range. And just as you thought maybe Orlando might got back into the game, Sam Surridge scored again. He completes the hat trick in the 67th minute from Espinosa and Palacio to make it 4-0 in this one. Thiago did look like he at least got one back for Orlando City, maybe a consolation goal, but as it's been the case this season for Orlando City, nothing has gone right for them, and here it's the same case where the goal disallowed for offside, and then just 3 minutes later, Madrigal make it 5-0 in favor of Nashville. I mean, Orlando, that back line just completely gave up to this point. Quasim tried to make it 6-0, but he puts it wide from long range. Orlando just waiting for the full-time whistle. I mean, there was just zero defensive reinforcement. Every time when Nashville attacked, you can clearly see this Orlando City's backline was just completely in shambles. Mukhtar was in on goal there, but he hits it right to Crépeau. I mean, with all the goal scoring that happened in this one, I'm pretty sure Mukhtar would have wished to join in that list. And I don't think he actually got an assist in this one either. No, he didn't get an assist in this one. So that's going to be frustrating if you're Hani Mukhtar, the fact that you see all your players or your star player getting at least a goal contribution, and he kind of came up empty in this one. Didn't matter though, because in the end, Orlando City, or should I say Nashville, getting the 5-0 win, an absolute demolition derby they had against Orlando City. Shots in this one, 13 shots compared to 10 that Orlando City had, 9 shots on goal compared to 1 that Orlando City has. That just kind of shows you there wasn't really much defensive reinforcement. Actually, did I say 13 shots? I mean 18 shots compared to 10 that Orlando City had. 9 shots on goal compared to 1 that Orlando has. 4 shots off target compared to 6 that Nashville has. Both teams had 3 shots that was blocked, and possession-wise, 58% possession compared to 42% possession that Orlando City has in this game, and really not much to add in this one. I mean, Nashville, they are head and shoulder better than pretty much most of the team in the Eastern Conference. And for Orlando, I mean, I know this is a rough loss for them, but that's what happened when teams face against Nashville. There's a reason why I say Nashville. They look like a team that not only is a very scary team, but they might be a team to beat right now in the Eastern Conference. I mean, when you look at the East right now, I know people will say about Inter Miami and so forth, but I mean, you look at the other contender that I thought that they would be. I mean, maybe NYCFC, if they can continue this good run of form that they have to begin the season, maybe they might be up there. But the other teams that I thought would be in for the fight, the two Ohio teams are struggling mightily. Right now, Philly, of course, last year winning the Sapporo Shield, they are nowhere near the level that they were. So, yeah, you got to say, Nashville feels like they are definitely the team to beat. And I'm not that surprised to see that happen, because I had a feeling that was going to be the case. With what they've done this offseason, with how loaded this team is, and how BJ Callahan has absolutely transformed this team into just an absolute juggernaut right now, this is going to be a team that's going to be a problem in the East, and this is going to be definitely a team that I can definitely say that, based on how they perform in this early part of the season, maybe even MLS Cup favorites already in the beginning of the season as well. Now, moving on into the last game on this board, we'll talk about the other blowout game, which is Charlotte versus the New York Red Bulls. Now, what's kind of interesting about this one, unlike the one between Nashville and Orlando City, where, I know the score line turns out to be a blowout, but it really kind of felt like it. This one, it kind of didn't. And I know that's crazy to say the fact that, you look at the scoreline 6-1, it feels like it's just kind of a jump to conclusion. But if you watch this game, the Red Bulls actually had their moments in this one. Now, defensively, yeah, they were an absolute mess in this one. But on the attacking end, they show some promise in this one. But it's just the fact that Charlotte was just so clinical in this one. In the first half, 4 minutes in, Hall would miss wide from close range, as I thought the Red Bulls actually started well. They were looking to try to get the opener, but in the 14th minute, Tokomani would get the opener for Charlotte. So he scored here from Bio to make it 1-0 in favor of Charlotte. That was also the first shot of the game for Charlotte as well. Really the first real attacking moment that Charlotte has up to that point, and really just kind of completely against the run of play. Diane did look for another, but he missed one in the 20th minute before Ruva Kolba would hit it right to Kalina in the 29th minute before Horvat denied Vargas, but it then falls to Westwood, but he couldn't put that one on target. In fact, he puts this one high. Ruva Kolba would then puts it high from long range, as both of these teams were exchanging some chances. The question is, who can get that second goal? Well, Ruva Kolba tried to do so, but he hits it right to Kalina before Kalina denied Hall from close range, as the Red Bulls once again started to get some sustained pressure, trying to get that equalizer. Donkor would struck the post from long range in the 44th minute, and then the first man at stoppage time, Horvat would deny Zaha in the back post. And we do head to halftime with the scoreline being 1-0 in favor of Charlotte. And again, it looked like it was a competitive game up to that point, and then the second half happened, and yeah, the goal scoring galore started very early in this one. 30 seconds in, Carvin Vargas would make it 2-0 in favor of Charlotte, as the Red Bulls just clearly did not start on time in this one. And it gets worse for the Red Bulls, because Berggren would get a straight red here as he commits a dogso on Tokomati, and Pepiel instantly punished this Red Bulls team for committing that error, because he would score on the free kick to make it 3-0 in this one. Sofo did look to respond, but he hits it right to Kalina before Kalina denied Valencia from close in the 62nd minute. So yeah, so far up to this point, even though the scoreline is there, the Red Bulls, they, to their credit, they didn't really give up in this one. And once again, they started to try to get themselves a goal back. And despite down to 10 men, or despite up a man up to this point, again, I've said this before so many times, and I'll say it again, just because you're up a man in the game doesn't mean the fact that it means that you're going to absolutely dominate the game and take control of this one. You might show some complacency, and I thought Charlotte may have showed that complacency. Well, that all changed in the 67th minute, because Wilfred Zaha would score his vintage banger kind of goal there from Toffolo and Westwood to make it 4-0 in favor of Charlotte. I mean, I'm pretty sure Charlotte probably saw what I wrote earlier, the fact that they might show some complacency and saying, yeah, hold my beer. I'm just made it 4-0, or at least Wilfred Zaha probably saw that and say, yeah, no. Just like that, it's 4-0 in this one. Beal would then look for 5, but he missed high in the 73rd minute. And then Ruvalcaba would struck the post from long range. So, yeah, like I said, the Red Bulls had their moment in this one. The post obviously wasn't kind to them. And Ruvalcaba, I got to say, he is basically joining Betorame right now as the latest Liga MX export that has just been completely snake bitten. What is it with MLS and Liga MX kind of transfer that for whatever reason sometimes it just doesn't work out? We've seen this happen with MLS player going down to Liga MX. Maybe it doesn't turns out to do well, and then now we're seeing the same thing with Liga MX player coming to MLS, where these big name Liga MX player. I mean, I know Ruvalcaba is not a household name, but still a pretty big name with him doing well with Pumas, and he has definitely not done well so far with the Red Bulls. Just simply cannot buy a goal right now, just completely snake bitten, and because of that allows Charlotte to score the 5th goal, as Archie Goodwin would score his first career MLS goal from Schlegg and Westwood to make it 5-0 in favor of Charlotte. The Red Bulls does get one back though in the 81st minute, as Julian Hall would get one back for the Red Bulls. But yeah, that is one that Kalina, who up to this point he was doing very well in this game, but he will be very frustrated that he lost his clean sheet because of this moment where he just dropped the ball when the cross comes in, and he was instantly punished. Wouldn't be the last time we'll talk about in this video where a player or a goalkeeper dropped the ball from the cross and was instantly punished because of that. Abada did look to answer, but he was denied by Horvat before Horvat denied Abada from long range in the 89th minute. So talk about a guy that has kind of been snake bitten. Abada has kind of been that kind of player. He really needs that goal badly. He was pressing hard to trying to get himself on the score sheet, and also most importantly, the Charlotte, they were definitely not letting off. They were looking to try to get 6. De La Torre puts it wide from long range, but in the 3rd minute stoppage time, it would be 6 for Charlotte, as Archie Goodwin, after scoring his first career MLS goal, he would score another one here from Abada and Westwood to make it 6-1 in this one. And then it almost was a Brazil versus Germany scoreline in the 7th minute of stoppage time when Abada looked like he made it 7-1 in this one. But as I said, he's been kind of snake bitten, and because you're snake bitten, you're not going to get the luck. In this case, didn't get the luck with the flag, as it came up for offside there. It was very, very close. I think if this game was actually close, I think they probably would have gone to look at it and see whether or not indeed that was onside. But because of the fact that this game was already kind of way out of reach, they didn't even bother going to VAR. And in the end, it ends in a 6-1 victory for Charlotte in this one. I didn't even have enough room to write down the stats in this game, so I'll just read it out here on the website of MLS. So Charlotte had 16 shots compared to 23 that the Red Bulls had. Again, the Red Bulls, they had their chances in this one. 8 shots on goal compared to 10 that Charlotte has in this one. 5 shots off target compared to 4 that the Red Bulls had. And in terms of the block shots, 7 shots that was blocked compared to none that Charlotte has. And possession-wise, 54% possession compared to 45% possession that Charlotte has in this game. And this is kind of a tough one to analyze if you're a Red Bulls fan. I mean, I know Red Bulls fans will be very upset in terms of how they perform in this one, especially on the defensive end, but on paper, the attack was definitely good in this one. The problem is they just couldn't finish, and when you can't finish and while your defense is kind of let you down, yeah, that's why the blowout happened. It also doesn't help the fact that you were down to 10 men for the majority part of the second half as well. But that being said, I am now going to switch board and look at the last 4 games to finish up this review of part number 1, where we look at the first 8 game of the Saturday action. All right, so now let's talk about the next game, which is Atlanta versus DC United. And I gotta say, the less we can talk about this game, the better, because I think between this game and the game we saw between Dallas and Nashville, might be in nomination as the most boring game of this year. So in the first half, 13 minutes in, Johnson would deny Sanchez, as that was the game's first shot. And I say, the less we can talk about this game, the better. I still have to review this game, that is. But Atlanta was definitely on the front foot. They were looking to try to get the opener. Latte Laugh would miss wide from close before Galarza would put it right to Johnson, as the shots were 4-0 for Atlanta early in this one. We then go for a period where not much really happened. That would kind of be the theme for majority of this game, where it just kind of felt like there was a lot of dead time between this game, where not a lot of chances that was created. But in the 34th minute, Baribo would then heads it high from the corner, as that was DC's first shot of the game. But we do head to halftime scoreless between both of these teams. In the second half, Almiron puts it wide from the corner. Hoyos would then deny Hopkins from close in the 61st minute, and then Latte Lap would miss wide from close range. Both of these teams definitely exchanging some chances, but who can get the opener? Well, Jakob tried to do so in the 80th minute, but he puts it wide from close, and then the post would deny Clark, and it actually hits off of Hoyos as well and goes out for a corner. So yeah, Hoyos a little fortunate that it only goes out for a corner, because we've seen that before where when the ball hit the post and it hits off the goalkeeper, usually off the back that is, it can trigger in and it goes into the back end, and that's just kind of one of those very unlucky moments for goalkeeper where you thought the post saved you and then it kind of worked against you. Luckily for Hoyos, that didn't happen in this one. Speaking of the post, it would then deny Vania from long range, and even though there wasn't really a lot of chances that DC have created up to this point, I feel like DC kind of felt like they were getting blue ball by the post up to this point. They could have maybe be snuck in a late goal in this one and get the victory, but instead it's a scoreless draw on this one. And the shots in this one, 9 shots compared to 4 that DC had, 2 shots on goal compared to 1 that DC had, 1 shots off target compared to 4 that Atlanta has, 2 shots that was blocked compared to none that DC had, and possession-wise, 65% possession compared to 35% possession that DC has in this game. And obviously for anyone that watched this, and especially for those fans that had to pay to watch this game, I definitely send my sincere condolences, and maybe they need to request a refund, because yeah, that was a game. That was definitely a game. Not a great one, but definitely a game. And consider after Atlanta got a pretty good performance, especially on the attacking end, that's got to be very disappointing how they played this one, where yeah, that attack was pretty much silenced throughout this entire game. And when you're being silenced by DC, and I know DC has had some good defensive performance, but yeah, that's not a great sign when your attack is being silenced by DC United. But that being said, moving on, in the next match, we got St. Louis versus New England, and finally, St. Louis showed their clinical finishing. This is what St. Louis can definitely be if they actually show some clinical finishing, and we'll see whether or not if this is maybe just a one-time thing, especially against a New England team that, at least early on, it looked like they were still off of that great 6-1 win against Cincinnati, and then they went back to why Marko Mitrovic's team really struggled in the first 2 games of the season. Now, in the first half, 12 minutes in, Feingold would miss wide from close range, but then 2 minutes later, he would be on target, as he scored from Ligoni and Heel to make it 1-0 in favor of New England. Turgelman would then look to make it 2-0, but he missed wide in the 18th minute, and up to this point, it looked like New England kind of picked up where they left off against Cincinnati and looking really good going forward. Looked to try to make it 2-0. Turner would then deny Santos, but then it falls to Wallen, who blasts that one into the supporter section on the second attempt. Santos would then hit it right to Turner in the 24th minute. St. Louis, despite the slow start in this one, they have woken up. They were pressing to try to get the equalizer, and they got it in the 29th minute. As Simon Betcher, who another player that really needs to get going, because he knows that his time with St. Louis, especially being a starter, is going to be on a limited basis if he can't get the goal scoring going, knowing that this team will desperately looking for a number 9 in the summer transfer window. But he scored here from Edelman to make it 1-1 in this one, and yeah, that sequence all started because New England turned the ball over cheaply. So yeah, not great moment for New England, and they were definitely punished because of it. We then go for a period where not much really happened, but then the third man stoppage time, Chris Durkin would score a rare goal for St. Louis to give them the lead. This time came from Rafael Santos, and not great defending for New England either in this play. I mean, not great marking from the set piece, leaving Durkin open. I mean, I know Chris Durkin doesn't score a lot of goals, but you don't want to leave anybody wide open in the box coming for the corner. That's a recipe for disaster. So, yeah, just like that, it was 2-1 in favor of St. Louis. That would be the scoreline heading into the second half. In the second half, Heelwood hits one right to Berkey, as New England definitely on the front foot, looking to try to get the equalizer. But then we go for another period where not much really happens. St. Louis, they'll take it because, they're leading this game. They're trying to finally break the ice and get their first win of the season, especially getting the first win for Yohan Daimé. And in the 83rd minute, it pretty much confirmed it. As Marcel Harto, he kind of did a Triantis here with just an absolute banger as well. And this one, I think, is even better than what Triandis did before, because this one was off of a volley. Like, the fact that he was still able to chip the goalkeeper from a volley attempt. I mean, yes, it was not great moment for New England either. They turned the ball over once again, but still, I mean, the fact that he hit that one off the volley and still were able to chip it over Turner. I mean, take a bow, Marcel Harto. That is definitely going to be the goal of the week, and definitely maybe in contention for goal of the year as well. So that made it 3-1. Hartel then looked for 4, but he was denied by Turner, and you can clearly see the confidence in front of the goal is finally there for St. Louis. I've been saying this for the past couple of games with St. Louis. You know, not only the effort is definitely there for St. Louis, but if they only just have anyone on this team can actually finish with a damn, that they can definitely be a decent team. And I think that's, again, is what Corey Ray's going to have to look for during the summer transfer window, where he's going to have to find a guy that can bury those chances and be that clinical finisher to really propel this team, because everything that Yohan Daime is working to get this team much better is definitely there. The blueprint is definitely there. They just need to have that finisher, and in this game at least they kind of show that in this one. In the 6-minute stoppage time, Miller would then had a shot that was deflected wide, but yeah, in the end, St. Louis, they get their first win under Yohan Daime and their first win of the season with a 3-1 win. The shots in this one, 10 shots for the 8 that New England has, 2 shots on goal for the 6 that St. Louis had, 1 shots off target for the 2 that New England has, 4 shots that was blocked for the 3 that St. Louis had, and possession-wise, 55% possession compared to 45% possession that St. Louis has in this game, and it's definitely back to the drawing board for Marko Vicevic, and probably he's hoping that he's going to have at least 2 more weeks to draw out to see what went wrong with this team. And the good news is he does have those 2 weeks, because we are heading to the international break after this, as pretty much, I believe, almost every single team is not going to be playing during the international break. But that being said, let us move on into the next game, which is Sporting KC versus Colorado. So like I said before, just like what I said about St. Louis, the effort is there, definitely there with Sporting KC. And I know it doesn't show that on the scoreline, and the big reason why they eventually got blown out in this one is because they kind of stopped playing in the last 15 minutes of this game. And I think that maybe is kind of the thing that will disappoint Sporting KC fans the most, and maybe think that I'm kind of contradicting myself by saying that the effort is definitely there. I mean, if you just ignore the last 15 minutes of the game, you can definitely see that the Sporting KC side is still trying, and that they are definitely a team that no doubt has some serious hole to fix. But, you know, as I said before, as long as this team is playing respectable, I don't think Sporting KC fans going to be too mad, although I think they will be mad the fact that this team kind of stopped playing after the last 15 minutes, especially after that third goal went in for Colorado. Now, in the first half, 3 minutes in, Harris with the game's first shot, but he missed wide. But then in the 12th minute, Colorado would take the lead as Paxton Harrison would score from Yappy and Navarro. And if I'm not mistaken, I think that's the first goal that Paxton Harrison have scored for the Colorado Rapids. I don't think he actually had a goal with the Rapids last season, but yeah, if that's the case, congratulations of him finally breaking that duck. He scored from Yappy and Navarro here to give the Rapids a 1-0 lead. Jovic did look to respond, but he was denied by Stefan before Harris puts it over from close in the 17 minutes. Sporting definitely pressing back and looked to try to get the equalizer, but in the 19th minute, Yappy was in on goal there, but he was denied by Polskam, but he got his own rebound, and he had an empty net to shoot, and he whiffs it. So, yeah, that is definitely one that Yappy would want to have back. Not only with the chance that he had, but also the fact that he whiffed on the shot where he could have easily put it into the empty net and give Colorado a 2-0 lead. In the 25th minute, Santos would miss one from long range. We then go through a period where not much really happened. It was a very fireworks start to this game. A lot of chances for both of these teams early on. And then in the 44th minute, Sporting KC would tie the game up. It's Suleimanov. He scored from Harris and Johnson to tie the game up at 1 apiece. Unfortunately, the game didn't stay tied for long, because in the second minute of stoppage time, Wayne Frederick would score here to make it 2-1 in this one, and it was an absolute gift. And, you know, John Polskam, the last couple of games, he's definitely been great. I even compliment the fact that maybe John Polskam has finally been the guy that they were hoping hoping for when it comes to being the proper replacement for Tim Melia. But yeah, this is one that he kind of came back from last season form, and this is where the inconsistency is what Sporting KC fans are not thinking that will happen with John Polskamp, because last season there's times where John Polskamp had some good spell, but there's also times where he did this where he commits a howler of a moment where he just didn't catch the cross there and was instantly punished because of that. So yeah, just like that, Colorado takes the 2-1 lead, a little bit of a gift from them to retake the lead heading into halftime. In the second half, Sulemana had a free kick that was denied by Stefan before he puts it high from long range a minute later. And again, the effort is there for Sporting KC. They're once again pressing to try to get themselves the equalizer again. Sealy would then puts it high from long range before Sulemana would put it to Missouri from long range in the 69th minute. But then the 71st minute, Colorado would make it 3-1, as Navarro would score to make it 3-1, and it's another howler for John Polskamp. I mean, he just did not push this ball away or even catch this cross. It was really a weak cross that was coming in too, one that I clearly feel like Polskamp should do better in that moment. So yeah, that made it 3-1, and that moment kind of really just crippled Sporting KC, because like I said, this team kind of stopped playing defensively after that third goal was conceded. And in just 4 minutes later, Aronson would score again. He scored from Navarro and Sealy to make it 4-1 in this one. The Sporting KC side, they just completely checked out. And it's disappointing because, like I said, they were in this game for most part. They had their chances to tie the game up. And now it just feels like as soon as that third goal goes in, and with the way that this team has suffered so much losing the last couple of weeks, and even going back to last year as well, I'm not surprised the fact that the heads immediately drop with this team as soon as they conceded that third goal in this game. Polskamp would then deny Navarro from close before Sealy would hit it right to Polskamp in the 7-minute stoppage time. Ironically, as bad as Polskamp was in this one, he actually kept this game from being 4 or 5-1, especially late in this one, where it could have gone really ugly for Sporting KC with the way that they just kind of flat out quit in the last 15 to 20 minutes in this game. But yeah, in the end, the Rapids get a comfortable 4-1 win in this one. The shots in this one, 18 shots compared to 8 that Sporting KC had. 3 shots on goal compared to 9 that Colorado has. Both teams had 3 shots off target. 1 shot that was blocked compared to 7 that Colorado has. And possession-wise, 55% possession compared to the 45% possession that Sporting KC has in this game. And like I said, the effort was definitely there for Sporting KC if you look at the first 70 minutes. Just don't look at the last 20 minutes, because the last 20 minutes was exactly the reason why Sporting KC fans are very mad about this team. Now, moving on into the last game on this board, let's talk about the Texas shootout we have between Dallas and Houston, because this was absolutely bonkers. Like, the first 33 minutes of this game was your old-fashioned Texas shootout, and where defense pretty much was not a thing in the first 33 minutes. And it started early. Just 6 minutes into the game, Logan Farrington would score from Moore and Collodi to make it 1-0 in favor of Dallas. And, you know, anytime when you have a goalkeeper being in the secondary assist, you're thinking it's coming from a quick counterattack. And, well, this wasn't really quite the case. It was just a crazy long ball from Shaq Moore. I mean, just putting on a dime, and even a better first touch from Farrington as well to create that goal. So, yeah, that made it 1-0 in favor of Dallas. Uriguide then looked for another, but he puts it high from the corner. But then the 14th minute, Farrington would score again. This time he scored from Johansson and Valente. Is it Johansson or Johansson? I'm keep pronouncing Johansson because as a guy that also watch hockey a lot, I've seen a lot of players that has that name, and it's kind of pronounced both ways. So don't be surprised if I sometimes pronounce it Johansson and the real pronunciation is actually Johansson. I mean, he is Swedish, and I've seen a lot of Swedish hockey player pronounce it differently. So for now, I guess I'll say both, and in this case, I'll say Johansson scoring from Valente to make it 2-0 in this one. Don't be surprised I might switch it again by the end of this video, because I believe he actually were involved in this game later on as well. Yeah, he had a chance late in this one as well. But yeah, just like that, it was 2-0 in favor of Dallas. It was a dream start from them, just kind of flying early in this game. But then this is when the game kind of took a 180, because in the 29th minute, Guilherme would get one back for Houston. And yeah, Colodi, as much as he's been pretty good for most of this season, yeah, he does not want to look this one back. He just gave the straight to Garame there, and when you do that as a goalkeeper, yeah, you're gonna pay the price. So yeah, it was 2-1 up to this point. It would be 2-2 very quickly, as Sevchenko would score from Santo to tie the game up at 2 apiece from the set piece, and then 2 minutes later, Houston takes the lead. It's Anali. He scored from Guilherme and Herrera to make it 3-2 in this one, and yeah, when I saw that, I'm like, oh boy, it feels like MLS After Dark has arrived in the El Capitan in the Texas Derby, because it looks like it's one of those games where defense is not a thing whatsoever, and we're kind of in it for an old-fashioned Texas shootout, because, yeah, this game has just gone absolutely off the rail up to this point. In the 42nd minute, Johansson would look to respond, but he hits it right to Bond before Bond would deny Cappies from close, as now all of a sudden Dallas were pressing to try and get the third goal, because like I said, defense not a thing in this game. But we do head to halftime with the score 3-2 in favor of Houston, and because defense is not a thing, you knew that we're not done with the goal scoring. And in the second half, Dallas ties the game up at 3 apiece, and it was actually an own goal by Dwayne Holmes. He looked like he got saved by the flag there originally, but they did go to VAR to see whether or not if that original offside call on the development play was wrong. It was overturned, and yeah, just like that, it was tied up at 3 apiece. I mean, this was kind of one of those unfortunate own goal for a defender where, you know, when you try to clear it away when the ball comes in, you got to make sure you do it correctly, because if you don't, you can put it into your own net. That's exactly what happened in this case with Dwayne Holmes. Guilherme did look to answer, but he puts it over in the 64th minute. And as crazy as this game might sound, there wasn't as much fireworks, at least what we saw in the first half, and maybe defense kind of start trying a bit. Well, so much for that in the 68th minute, because Sevchenko would get his second yellow card in this one, so Sevchenko went from 0 to hero in this one, or should I say 0 to 0 in this one, because he scored the goal in the first half, and now he has kind of cost his team because of the fact that now his team has to play down to 10 men for the rest of the game, and in a game where the goal scoring has been at its proudest and defense has not been a thing, that is a death sentence to go down to 10 men for the remaining in this game, because Dallas immediately trying to take advantage of it. Farrington would hit it right to Bond before Musa would hit one right to Bond from long range in the 82nd minute. But then the 86th minute, this was inevitable. You knew that eventually the Dynamo resistance playing down the 10 men is not going to be enough, because Pedro Musa would score from Valente and Farrington to make it 4-3 in this one. Delgado did look for 5, but he puts it wide there before Colodi had to make a big save to deny Linger from closest. Houston was trying to push to try to make this a 4-4 game. Guilherme would then curse it wide from long range. But yeah, in the end, a wild game that we saw in this Texas Derby. One of the wildest Texas Derby that we've seen in quite some time, as Dallas gets the 4-3 win in this one. The shots in this one, 16 shots compared to 10 that Houston had, 8 shots on goal compared to 4 that the Dynamo has, 3 shots off target compared to 2 that Houston has, 4 shots on block for the 6 that Dallas had, and possession-wise, 52% possession compared to 48% possession that Houston has in this game. But yeah, either way, that is pretty much it when it comes to finishing up part 1 of the review. For part number 2, obviously I'm planning to do it on Monday, because like I said, tomorrow when I do get back home and get back to California, most likely it's way too late for me to, of course, do the review and put the notes on the board of the last 7 game that is. And yes, part number 2, we're back doing the big board that is, and I will basically now be able to put all the notes up in the big board, and definitely better quality as well, because as I always say, whenever I do these review on the road, and especially doing kind of a bit of a round liquor special as I'm doing this at 2:30 in the morning, yeah, the quality is definitely not going to be there. And by the way, most likely this video will be uploaded tomorrow as well. I haven't tested how good the Wi-Fi is at this hotel. I don't think it's going to be very good, so I'm just going to have to kind of rely on the Wi-Fi at the airport tomorrow in Miami, and pray that Wi-Fi works relatively well. But either way, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys do like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, I of course will see you guys next time.